as the US top 5 for this week. And at number 5, okay, that was the US top 5 for this week. Thanks, Gavin. And it really wasn't that serious, was it? All right, now listen, one group that we're extremely proud to be involved with Oz for Africa was In Excess.
Yeah.
They didn't realise, I don't think on that night, when it was being done and then beamed the next day, of how many countries they were going to go to and the reaction they got back from those countries.
Yeah, it was very good, and it's about time because they're a very good band, and there's a good picture of them in the Live Aid book, as a matter of fact. I met them once at Phonogram, same record company. They were good guys, and as you say, they can be proud of themselves anyway.
Well, listen, I'll tell you what, this is their next single off Listen Like Thieves, and it's a great song. A sneak preview this week, in full next week. Here it is, In Excess with This Time. Okay, In Excess with their new single, in full next week, This Time. And don't forget, they're on the front cover of the Countdown magazine, so watch out for that one. All right, listen, with Australia, we're very proud now of a lot of the groups that we've got happening in this country. What is your own personal opinion? Do you hear many of us, Australian groups or Australian records overseas?
When they start breaking through, like In Excess in Britain and stuff like that. And then there's, I've heard the Models, and I heard, I can't remember, they were the latest one I heard. And they come into the office, you have the tapes in, and you give them a listen. You're not really aware they're Australian, that you're just listening to another band, you know. I'm not going to make the mistake I made last bloody time. You know, this guy, it's a total lie, you know. Just because I
right, I think there's a bit of a blue going on here between Bob and... Oh, look, someone's going to end in the water. No.
Australian top 5 for this week, and I think we've settled our differences now. He's right and I'm right. Okay. Listen, the next group we've got on hasn't got a recording contract. They brought their demo tape around to my place at home. I listened to it, assessed it, thought it was a very good tape, and we decided to put them on the show, which we've done with other bands. How hard was it for you to break into the industry?
Well, we did a year in Ireland, which gave us, like, we were able to get better there, out of the public eye, and then we went to England, and the punk thing was happening, so all the DJs said, oh, these guys can play, and we became the acceptable face of the new wave, and they wanted to get a handle on it, so they played us, and we got Top of the Pops, which is, you know, is the English equivalent of Countdown. And that really broke it through for us, I guess, and I hope that it breaks it for these guys. You know?
I mean, my only worry, I mean, when we have the right perhaps to make a decision, or you have that access where people bring up demo tapes to you, that there is a lot of talent that just goes by.
I like the way that Countdown is doing this, because it's becoming kind of like the Tube in England as well as Top of the Pops. So it's giving guys who haven't got a prayer any other way of giving them a chance, and some guys are going to make it and some are not, and there's only X many people can fit on one show, so you just got to live with it, you know.
Actually, you're not a bad guy, actually, after all.
Well, I mean, you're getting a lot of money to play this day, so you may as
well. He's a fool. It'll all go to Oz for Africa if I do. The adventure with Over the Walls, I'm going to take him over. What is the attitude? Because I still find people here, schools, etc., still working towards making more money for the cause.
Well, that's what has to be kept going, because I may have said it earlier that without a doubt, when you helped on Live Aid Day, you really did keep thousands upon thousands of people alive. And I think that it's seeped through to people that that'll keep them alive for now. But what about next year? And we have to keep going until such time as we've given them a life. And by that I mean that, you know, they're provided with water and they can plant some seed and they can get going themselves, because they've been totally wiped out. So everyone's got to keep going with it.
Well, there are some cynics, and just very briefly on this, that you know, reporters or whatever, you know, just different critics will say in a very cynical way, it's an act of God and we shouldn't interfere. What's your answer to that?
Well, I'd say God has a very wry and bitter sense of humour, and if that's an act of God, and if God is what he claims to be and what people claim for him to be, then I don't think he'd have ever done this. I think it's largely an act of man. Right.
All right, now listen, here is the cheque that you were presented with the other day, 5,900,000, which will reach the 6 million mark. There's still the auction to go, and there's still all these projects to come in. I was so proud that night watching you on television, and I thought it was deserved of anyone, and especially you, to be lifted up by the greats, McCartney and Sting and people like that. I won't ask you what your feeling was, because I think it shows in the film clip. It's a pleasure to know you.
Thanks, Molly.
And thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
And I just sincerely hope that the message of you goes on for a long, long time.
Thanks.
It's time for me to say goodnight again.
Cheers, man.
Good night, Australia. And here it is, that moment again from Wembley. Do you know it's Christmas?
And in 1987, the AIDS virus was an issue many artists spoke out about.
If you are weak physically, you've got more chance of catching it, you know. And there are, you know, a lot of people who take drugs that have caught it from using, you know, needles and things like that. So, you know, the whole sort of decadence thing is a risk, and you just have to be careful.
Jonathan just got an awesome face paint job. What do you think?
I like turtles.
All right.